topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Legacy Leavers series on Success Secrets Exposed. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or Wednesday mornings in Australia on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. The series showcases experts, changemakers, and disruptors leaving a lasting legacy with those sharing their wisdom with the world.
Good morning, good evening, and good day to you all, and welcome to another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. In today's episode on Legacy Leavers, our topic is maximizing you, reaching your full potential. And I'm thrilled to introduce a very, very special guest whose life story reads like an epic journey of transformation and triumph. From steering a bus to steering lives, Dennis Dowdell has navigated a remarkable path to become a beacon of hope and change as a renowned speaker and trainer. Over a span of 4 decades, Dennis has not only left an indelible mark on the world, but he has also transformed lives of over 250,000 individuals through his unwavering commitment to unleash potential. Recognised for his extraordinary leadership, Dennis possesses a unique gift for igniting the spark of possibility in everyone that he encounters, from individuals to teams and to entire organisations. His life work, driven by the mission to infuse lives worldwide with hope, opportunity through transformative and magic universal principles. And today he is joining us on Legacy Leavers to share his insights on maximising you, reaching your full potential. Please help me welcome to the show, Dennis.
Wow. I could hardly wait to hear this guy. And then I came up.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for joining us, Dennis. I'm so excited to be having this conversation with you today. So thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thanks so much for having me. What a great, listen, I haven't been down under since 2011. So it's good to kind of be back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're welcome here anytime. We'll get you around the troop, so to speak. So yeah, you're welcome to come for real anytime, but thank you. So I'd love to start with one question, and I know I've done a little bit of a spoiler alert as to your backstory, but can I ask you to share your backstory in your words and the legacy that you aim to leave?
Well, yeah, actually, when I graduated from college, and I was very lacking on my GPAs. I didn't graduate with any kind of honors. They kind of threw me out the door, getting out, But my real education in college really wasn't courses as much as it was people. And so I learned a lot about people, but they didn't grade me for that. That was the problem. And when I graduated, I thought, I don't want to go out and get a job, so per se, I wanted to be able to find a career where I could make a difference and then stay there the rest of my life. I know that's a rarity in our world today. In fact, it's almost a part of the process. 3 to 5 years here, go to 3 to 5 years there. But I don't like that. The reality is, I really don't like change a lot. I like consistency. I like stability. I like that's me. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to find a career that's going to last me, maybe I better find just a temporary job until I can really zero in and get a career that I wanted. And so I got this job driving a school bus, which was great because it gave me off in the middle of the day so I could go for interviews and do that kind of thing. But I got slacking, and it was a number of years later, and I thought, I better get on with this. And so then I really, focused my attention, and I started looking for different positions. And I actually found 2 positions that would have paid me about 40% more than I was initially looking for. But the problem was, it was a job. And so this was one of the first tests of my principles. Are you love, or are you going to become a slave to a job, or are you going to love a career? And so I had to make a decision. And so I turned those 2 positions down. And 7 months later, after strenuous looking, I came across a startup company, and it just happened to be one of those things that was, it was like it was perfect for me, handmade. And it allowed me to develop my skills, my abilities, but most importantly, it locked me into being mentored by somebody who was, even though he was a 9th grade educated genius, he was way beyond me in wisdom and business building. And he was the first of what turned out to be 5 people over the next 5 years that I connected with. And those 5 men changed my life. And so, I made my commitment to what I wanted. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to travel the world. And I discovered these men could help me make a bigger difference. And so I learned a lot. I was a student. I'm still a student.
Yes, I think that's true. When you come with that curiosity and you want to be the continual student or the lifelong learner, I refer to myself as a lifelong learner. It just creates all sorts of possibilities and opportunities for you if you're open to receiving those sorts of gifts and things as well. That's amazing. So thank you for sharing that little bit of the backstory. I know there's lots of depth to it, so we're going to get into some of those questions as well. What do you think, from your perspective, with those 5 mentors that you had, what was the commonality between all of them that made the impact on you in the first instance?
Well, I mean, it's very interesting. And as it turns out, that's a lot of what my book was about. They all had a strong purpose. I mean, they all knew exactly what they wanted. They knew exactly where they were going. From what I could tell, they knew exactly how they were getting there. And so I realized, okay, purpose, vision is vital. I mean, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. If you know where you want to go, then you can only pick the road that, takes you in the direction you're heading. And so that was real valuable. But and again, just kind of like we were just saying, they were all students. I mean, I'm amazed. These guys were so smart, but they were always learning. They were perpetual students, and they highly did everything they could to infuse in me the concept of personal development. And I had one of those 5 men was Jim Rohn, who's known around the world, and I got to spend 27 years working with Jim. We traveled together a number of different times, but so it was very, very valuable, just seeing that. So that personal development was strong. And then the other thing all of them, taught was that focus, creating a mindset. I didn't even know what a mindset was. It was kind of a foreign word to me until I got around these guys. But, they said, oh, you got to create a mindset. You've got to create a philosophy. How are you going to view the world? How are you going to respond to the different obstacles that get in your way in the process of, reaching your dream? And so that was, real important. And then from there was people skills. Of course, that's where I spent most of my time in college, and was working with people. So, but I learned things about dealing with people and motivating people that, was phenomenal. And some just real simple principles that anybody can apply. And it's so valuable to, because when you begin impacting people, that's where the difference comes in. That's where the satisfaction comes in. It's not what you do, it's what others do as a result. And so, those, they fine tune those things. And then of course she says, well, now that if you know where you're going, if you're focused on getting there, focus always precedes success, right? Think about it. focus always precedes success. You got to get focused, and then you can succeed. You can get a little bit closer, right? And but once you've got that and you've developed the people skills, then the key is, what are you going to do? Okay, I know what I can do, but how can I greater impact other people so that they can do it as well? That's the point. The point is for them to take what I've learned, what's helped me to grow, and apply it so that they can grow. And so and that's leadership. Leadership is just, reaching down and bringing somebody up and say, hey, let me show you where I've been. Let me show you how I got there. And so it's that leadership, knowing what's next, okay, understanding why it's important, our purpose, making sure we're purpose oriented and we're focused, right? And so knowing what's next, and then knowing, how do I take the resources that I have available to get me ahead, to solve the problems, okay? And the beauty about today is, listen, resources are abundant, they're infinite, in our world today. And so once I, developed that leadership, then it was, basically learning then to keep it all in balance, and that's
a tricky thing now.
How do we maintain everything that we want in our life and keep it balanced? Sally, it's sad, but many times I see people, and we hear it all the time, they zero in on their careers, they're working, 40, 60, 80 hours a week, 6, 7 days a week, and they're drive, and they want to create a lifestyle for their family. And they finally, they create the success, but then their kids are gone, their family's gone, they're divorced, and they're not happy.
Yeah.
And so they've reached the goal, but they missed the objective. The objective is lifestyle and freedom. The goal was the success in the position, but the goal didn't give them the objective. And so we need to keep those things in balance so that we can actually enjoy the process. Otherwise, it's just, straight on, and we miss so much of the joy.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and that's one of my favorite words is joy, because I have a very exuberant dog, and I love walking her in the mornings because she just expresses joy all over her face. And when she meets somebody else or one of her favorite humans when we're in the park, that joy just gets so much bigger on her face. And that is
that joy radiates on your face, Sally.
Yeah,
It does. It's contagious.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the elements that is, if I look back at my career of, that focus and that objections where it's not been purpose driven, it's been goal driven. And I have burnt out at times in my life. It's, that joy, the joy is the first thing that dissipates. Or that was my experience when you sort of just get stuck in that drive. I feel I closed myself off, and I missed out on all those opportunities. And I think for me, listening to what you were sharing there is around that mindset and resources. You can and I'd love your insight on this. You can utilize other people's resources. But you're not to become the cardboard cutout of the person that you've collected all those sorts of things. And if I come back to your book title and your universal principles, it's about maximizing you and arming you with tools and resources. It's not about you becoming somebody else. And I talk about cardboard cutouts. You don't need to be a cardboard cutout of the guru at the front of the room. So this is why I've loved your principles so much, because it is all around maximizing you as the individual and creating that balance and that type of scenario as well. So from that perspective, if we look at the mindset, the focus and the balance, how do you help people balance all of that out?
Well, I think that's, it's the old principle of, taking the rocks, and you put the rocks in the bucket first. Okay, in other words, what are the non-negotiables? What are the most important things? In other words, they say, if you don't plan your day, someone else will. If you don't plan your month, someone else will. If you don't plan your life, someone else will. And so we've got to plan our life, and so we've got to start it really at the beginning of the year. You can't really start the year until you finished it. You can't start the day until you finish it, And so I finish it. I know what I'm on. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to run into obstacles. And that's a certainty. We know that, right? But so at the beginning of the year, you put in those rocks, those non-negotiables, okay? Family vacation, non-negotiable, okay? Marriage retreat, non-negotiable, I've got certain events, non-negotiable. So I put the big rocks in first. And so that way, anything else that comes up, that's all, those dates are already gone, and so it's there. Then you put in, the other activities, then you put in the pebbles, and you get the pebbles in there, and they kind of fit around there. And then you get the sand, and then you pour in the water, and that way everything fits. Now, take note though, the rocks are larger, may take up more space, more time. And that's in our day. We need to keep these things balanced. There's 7 areas in our life that we need to keep balanced. If we're going to maximize our potential for love and life and living, we've got to have these 7 areas. You have our family, okay? We have the financials. We have the personal. I have the professional. I have the physical. If I don't take care of my body, it's real important. I'll take care of me for you. You take care of you for me. But I'm going to take care of me. Because I've got to be able to perform. If I'm planning on, if I'm scheduled to die at 90 and I destroy my health by 60, I got 30 years of misery. So, what I mean? That's my perspective anyway. So the physical, and then we have the social and the spiritual. And so all of those things need to be a part of every day. Now, it doesn't mean they each get equal time, okay? Because my job obviously is going to take me, 8 hours a day, right? Sleeping takes 8 hours a day. So, that leaves me about, 8 to 10 hours, to fill in the blanks with all the rest. But we've got to get that laid out. And when we do that, it seems so fundamental. But if you live that way, and you'll never know if you can live that way until you get tested. And the tests will come.
Yes. Very, very true.
Just a thought, okay?
Yeah.
And I love it. Maybe this is early. I kind of throw this in at the end of my book a little bit, but think about it. We have our spirit, our soul, and our body. All right? Our spirit, that's our conscience. That overall governing factor as to what we're going to do with our mind. It tells our mind, our soul, mind, will, and emotions, tells them whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whether it's good, whether it's bad, is this going to be productive or not? This gives us the, that conscience kind of thing, right? But, and then you have the mind, I make decisions with the mind. I fulfill the decision with my will, and then I experience, the feeling. See, people in today's world, they get it backwards. They mean, if it feels good, do it. No, that doesn't lead to a productive life, right? Yeah. And then you have the body. So if people today, if they zero 100% on their mind, will, and emotions, because we've got, personal development seminars, the Tony Robbins and, the Grant Cardones, you got all these people. You can fill your mind with that. And you're the best shape of your life, right? But if you don't pay attention to that spiritual side, think about it. You've got 33%, right? Spirit, soul, body. If I max this out at 100% and I max this out at 100%, and I don't pay attention to this, that means my potential, because I'm in the full potential, not partial potential, right? If I'm 100% and 100%, and if I leave this one out here, I'm only going to maximize about a 66% potential factor. See, even if I'm 100%, but are we 100% of our mind? Are we 100% of our bodies? No, which means what percentage of potential am I living?
Yeah,
we need all three, and each performs their own function, own responsibility and part of the puzzle to maximize our life and to be able to enjoy life. Life was meant to
Yes.
be enjoyed, you know?
Yeah. And we were talking a lot earlier before we came on the show about, the amount of change that's going on and these universal principles, and coming back to what I'm going to call fundamentals, and you call them universal principles. So I'd love to explore that a little bit more, especially from the perspective of how you've seen your life and others evolve when the penny drops around those universal principles. So I know you've got lots of stories, and I know you've impacted lots of people. So I'm just going to drop that little nugget in there and let you take it wherever you'd like to take it. So I'll just repeat it again. I'd love to understand how those universal principles and purpose in general you've seen evolve, and what's happened for people when that evolution or installation or integration of those principles have come into play.
Yeah, it's that's so important. If you can build 130-story building, but that building's as strong as what? The foundation. And the taller the building, the deeper the foundation. So that foundation is basically, everything rides on the foundation. Everything rides on those basic fundamental principles or concepts. Now, once you have those concepts, you can utilize whatever strategy you want. See? And the strategies evolve. The strategies come and strategies go. They'll evolve. They'll change. Strategies change. Concepts are constant. They don't change. There's certain fundamental basics that just don't change. And what I've done, with my book, in fact, it was one of my mentors. He said, what are those fundamental principles, concepts that you built your business on that applied to every country, every culture, every philosophy, and every religion you encountered? How did they all utilize that? And I said, there's a number of them. So I went and I just wrote them all down. And finally, I reduced them down, and I said, hey, I said, Bob, here's the principles and concepts that I've used. And he said, good. He said, Denny, I think you have a book there. And I went, whoa, what do you know? But Sally, it was so valuable for me, just to look over the last, 4 decades and say, what were those constants? What were those concepts that I used everywhere I went? And that's really where, when you go in, regardless of somebody's background or education or anything else, that, it's okay. So, well, what's your purpose? I mean, listen, everybody wants to know 3 things. Who am I? What am I here for? Where am I going? So in other words, people want they want their purpose. Problem is, a lot of people just don't know how to find their purpose.
Correct.
And so I spend a lot of time making sure they understand, okay, what is it that you want? And one of the key things in purpose is when we look at our purpose, we want to look at, who do I want to be? Most people think of purpose, they think, what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to have? Where do I want to go? No. It's who do I want to be? Do I want to be a good father? Do I want to be a good friend? Do I want to be honest? Do I want to be loving? Do I want to be peaceful? And I want to be patient? Do I want to be kind? Do I want to be? In other words, it's the being. We're human beings, not doings.
Yes.
So it's real important. So the process that I start people on says, first determine who you want to be, because who you are will determine what you do. Okay? If I'm a kind person, I'm only going to do kind things. I'm going to make sure that everything I do is done in a kind way. So it's who I am. who you are will determine what you do. So it's be, then do. And what I do, following fundamental basics, following principles of purpose, which we'll get to in a minute, I guess. But that will then determine what I have. See, what I do, how I do it will determine what I have. And then what I have, people think that's the end. No, that's not. No, that's just the beginning, really. Because then what I have determines who I help. Okay? That's my bed of resources. See, it's those experiences, it's those lessons, it's the obstacles that I've overcome that now I can continue to feed on to other people. It determines who I can help. And that's the real joy.
Yes.
See,
yes. Yeah.
You know, the whole idea of purpose. A lot of people, when they think of purpose, they think, okay, what do I want? Okay, what do I want to be? What do I want to do? What do I want to have? You know, and it's I. And one of the things that I start all my proteges, any of my team members out, I said, listen, if you'll get just this one principle, it will change everything. It will change your direction. It will change how you do things. It will give you a stronger purpose, and it'll give you greater joy. And that's this, that when it comes to our purpose, it's not about me. It's always about others. You know, so and think about it. Nature's a great teacher, right? Well, we can learn so much from nature. We can learn so much from animals, you know, in all the different things. But I mean, think about it. A river never drinks its own water, right? Trees don't eat their own fruit. The sun doesn't produce heat for itself. Flowers don't create fragrance for themselves. See, in other words, what nature shows us is whatever they have, whatever tools, whatever abilities, whatever they have, it's designed to make a difference for others. And therein lies the secret of everything. Everything.
Boom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Zig Ziglar said, if you help enough people get what they want, you get everything that you want. And it's just true. I mean, think about it. You know, suppose that you're a concert pianist. I mean, you are like the best of the best. Carnegie Hall, you know, sellout crowd, right? And you go and you perform and you get a standing ovation. I mean, does it feel good? Oh, unbelievable. Are you proud of what you've accomplished? Oh, all the hours and time and practice. It feels just, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And all of a sudden you get that reward. You got the place, you got the standing ovation, and you feel great, right? What can feel greater than that? What can be better than that? Having a protege that you teach how to play, how to practice, how to form, and they call you up and they say, I'm going to Carnegie Hall.
Oh, you've just given me goosebumps, really big ones.
And they play and they get a 5-minute standing ovation. Now, what feels better, your ovation or theirs?
Yeah, absolutely theirs. Wow.
When you think about it, see, it's just so much common sense. You know, it's just common sense. And it's and the thing is, you know, it's not as difficult as people think to succeed and accomplish what they want. You know, we make it a whole lot more difficult than it is.
Do you mean to say we have to complicate stuff? Did you actually say that?
Isn't it amazing?
Right? Charm. Yes.
It's so true.
It is so true.
We have an amazing ability to complicate just about anything.
So true.
Oh my. That's what they would send me around the world, because countries that, you know, they get started and they get going, and then all of a sudden they get down so many rabbit holes and they complicate and everything gets convoluted and stuff like that. And so they say, you know, well, they send me in and I'll go in for a weekend in and say, okay, listen, okay, let's get rid of all the fluff. Let's zero in down to the basic fundamentals. What are we here for? Where are we going? What is it we want to accomplish? Okay, now let's zero in on just these things. Build on this. Everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah, and that's talking about the foundations again. And that was actually going to be my next, was one of my next questions, which was, I know from our prior conversations that you did get sent into all of those different countries all of the time. And I was going to bring it back to people. What were the overarching people skills? Because I know that's one of your elements as well, especially when you're going into, what I love is that you were going into other countries and you did not know the language. And those sorts of things. So I'd love you to share continue this conversation and this thread that we're on, and it just sort of tie it back into some of those things of where you've gone into countries. Not only was it complicated because of all of the stuff that'd been involved, but from the perspective of language barriers, and then you've got the other scenarios that we talk that you've mentioned briefly as well. So I'd love you to continue the thread of this conversation, because there's gold in it.
Well, I mean, it's so true, and again, it all comes back to that very first principle that it's not about me. All the talents, all the skills, all the gifts, all the abilities that I have, they're not for me. It's not to make me look good. That's my tool belt that God has given to me to invest into other people who don't have what I have. And by the way, in the process of me giving them what I have, I'm taking what they have. You see, I mean, I go into a place and I may work with, a dozen of the leaders, for the country or whatever. And so I'm pouring into them, but what they don't realize, it's one way out, 12 ways in. I'm getting 12 times as much as they are. See, so I mean, it's just win-win. But why does that come into play that way? Because it's not about us. It's about us feeding others.
Which is
and so that's that beginning. So as you develop your people skills, the people skills always comes in making sure that our focus is on other people. And it's hard for people to realize sometimes, because the only place they see me is on stage, or in front of a camera, right? And so they think, oh, look at this outgoing, vivacious, sparky live person, right? What they don't realize, I'm really an introvert. I love being alone. That's why when I get off the stage, I go to the green room and hide. I mean, but the thing is I know that if an introvert like me can work with not only the people I know, but then people that I don't know, then they could take this and really go. And so being the introvert, one of the things that I discovered was if I want to be interesting to the people, because, people buy you, right? Any sales team program tells you that. They don't buy your product. They buy you first, and then they'll take the product that you have if it meets their needs, right? That's the idea, And so how do we make that first impression? And so being the introvert, I thought, okay, I really don't talk much unless I'm asked questions, right? Or unless I'm giving a message. Apart from that, I'm the quiet guy in the back of the room, right? So I discovered, but unfortunately, my position, my business, puts me in a lot of social positions, environments, So what am I going to do? And so my mentor from the very beginning said, Denny, he said, here's a key for you. Here's a key to your success. He said, one of your keys is learn to ask questions. Okay. If you ask profound questions, you get profound answers. If you ask simple questions, you get simple answers. If you ask no questions, you get no answers. Right? So then he told me, he said, so Dennis, he said, collect questions. When you hear a good question, write it down. I've got pages and pages of questions, that I teach people, And so one of the first things is if I'm going, and this is one of these never ending forever principles that always works,
Mm.
and especially with regard to people skills, and that's be interested, not interesting. See, they think if I'm going with people that I know, or if I'm going, especially with people that I don't know, oh my, I've got to make sure that I'm, I come across very interesting and understanding and knowledgeable, and so I started thinking, okay, well, I better get my hair right and my clothes right and my words right, and I got to say the right thing the right way to the right person, but what am I thinking about there? I'm thinking all about me, right?
Yeah.
It's all about me, and I think, whoa, wrong.
Back it
Okay,
up.
it's not about me. It's about them. Oh, wait a minute, it's about them. So what I learned to do is I learned to ask questions about them. See, in other words, by being interested in them, by the time we finished, I asked these questions, right? All of a sudden they come, I'll go away and walk off, and later on people say, hey, they just thought you were the most interesting person. I hadn't said anything. I just asked a few questions, right?
Yes. Yeah.
By being interested, I became interesting.
Mm.
And so that's the brilliant part, and so and some key questions. Just for your audience, just to remember the next time you go out and meet somebody new, when you meet somebody new, you say, oh, hi, I'm Dennis, and they say, I'm George. I say, hi, George, nice to meet you. And then what's one of the first questions people say? Where are you from?
Yeah.
Right? Well, if you say, where are you from? They say, Chicago.
Yes.
Now what? Right?
Now.
So I learned, instead of asking where somebody's from, I say, well, so what brought you to this area? There's a whole story behind that. It could be a job, it could be a marriage, it could be a relationship. There's a whole story behind that. And guess what? Nobody likes you to ask a question they don't have the answer to. But everybody has the answer to that question.
Yeah.
They know that deal. And you know something? They don't get to share that story very much. And so now all of a sudden they've got an open ear. Somebody wants to know how I ended up coming here, everything that I had to go through. We had to pack everything up. We traveled across the country. We had the dogs in the back seat, and this whole thing. And so it's just brilliant, you see? And then, of course, what's the second most popular question? Oh, yeah. So what do you do for a living?
The cringeworthy one that everyone hates being asked. What do you do?
I never asked that question. See, instead of asking, what do you do for a living? I ask, so what do you live to do?
Oh, wow.
See,
you can feel the difference in that one. Whoa.
And it opens up a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Right? And they just go on and they get to share this. Oh, I love fishing. I live to fish. I live for sports. I live to travel. I live to paint. Whatever it is, right? And guess what? They're all excited about it. And you learn stuff. You learn a lot about them. And this is the key, because if you really want to make a difference for somebody else, it's not as important for them to understand you and where you're coming from as it is for you to understand them and where they're coming from. You see? And so, so this is the thing that makes all the difference in the world. So it's the principle. It's a never-ending principle. It's a lifelong principle, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. And that's always seek to understand more than be understood. Because if I don't understand, if I can understand them, who they are, where they're coming from, not just what they believe, but what they believe is minor. Why they believe it is major.
Yes. Yes.
I understand what you believe, but how did you come to that? How did you come to that conclusion? How did you come to those results? How did you come to that position? See, it's the why. And now when you get to the why, all of a sudden there's another whole story in that, isn't there? And now you see what we understand by those questions is we understand what motivates you. And they're telling you that, but they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just so valuable. And now you can better appeal to the need. See, the idea is to meet their need. See, if you offer a solution to a problem they have up to this point in time never been able to solve, you become extremely valuable.
Yeah.
See? And the marketplace pays for value.
It does.
You know,
Very well.
I don't know if you're familiar with Harvey McKay. Guy's a public speaker. He's written a dozen different books.
Yeah, he's got a book on a hairdressing salon.
He could. I mean, he has the funniest title. One of his first books was How to Swim with the Sharks and Stay Alive.
Yes, yeah.
But it's very interesting. He had an envelope company that was failing that he took over, and he developed what he called the McKay 66. Every single one of his team members, his sales guy, they have what they call the McKay 66. There's 66 bits of information that they need to collect on every single customer they have. So when they get ready to call in that customer, they pull out that file with the 66 things. They have their birthdays, their anniversaries, their favorite foods, what they like to do. I mean, they 66 things. So when he calls them up, it's like, hey, you and I are good buddies, and I know everything about it. You see? And so they're established that relationship. See, and so it helps.
Yeah,
fundamental.
Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful fundamental. We are getting to not quite the end of the show, but we're fast approaching, as I knew we would. It would come around way too quick for us. I'm going to ask, as a bit of a recap, and I know we've talked about purpose, mindset, and people skills, and we've talked about your universal principles. So I'm going to ask you, what do you believe the cornerstones are of making that lasting impact and creating long-term change for yourself so you can for others?
Well, and it comes back to that fundamental, that foundation, that purpose. Okay, we don't design our life for pleasure. We design our life for purpose. And when you fulfill your purpose, it brings great pleasure. So, I mean, it's just, in other words, that's what I'm saying. It's just just a natural flow. Okay? And so I developed that purpose. And then who do I need to become? That takes personal development. And for things to change, I've got to change. For things to get better, I've got to get better. So in other words, I need to become the person necessary to fulfill that purpose. What kind of purpose can do that? What kind of person can make that happen? That's the kind of person I need to become. That's how you determine who your mentors are going to be. Who's already done that? Who knows that? I got to spend time with that kind of a person. Okay? And then they can help me stay focused. Okay. Create my mindset. See, here's the interesting thing, because our mindset, our focus is vital, because thoughts control our mind, right? Our thoughts control our mind, but we control our thoughts. I determine where do our thoughts come from? Our thoughts come from the things we see, the things we read, the things we hear, and the things we experience. And I get to choose each one of those. So I just need to make sure that I choose the things I see, read, hear, and experience are in alignment with my purpose and the person I want to become.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that's where that goes. And so now once I've got that, now I can create my people skills.
Yeah.
Now I can learn to enlist people in my vision, enlist people purpose, so that we align ourselves with those who are moving in the same direction. I can't help somebody who's going in a different direction. I just say, you need to find another person. I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
I'm just not. But if you want to do this, I'm your man. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where we, go, and then we lead those who are moving in the direction that we're going, just like my mentors led me.
Yes.
See? And so, so that's where it is. And leadership's not tough. I mean, leader's just the guy who's one step ahead of you. I mean, for the most part,
Yeah.
And you just need to follow, reach in his hand, say, come this way, right? And so, and like I say, leadership is knowing what to do next, why it's important, and then how to take the resources that I have available to solve the problems. See, that's how it all works. We start with our purpose, right? We have to go through the process, right? Even though we have a purpose, okay, the goal is way out there. I have a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, right? But I still have to go through the process to get there. Every process involves what? Problems.
Yeah.
So every process has problems. So I've got to learn to that's really what personal development is. Personal development is simply learning to overcome the obstacles between me and my goal. When I've overcome that obstacle, I have developed myself to becoming the person who can do that. And so now I've expanded my capacity. But here's what I've learned about problems. Every problem generally involves people. It's rarely products or plans. It's generally personalities. Right? I can see you've been through this. I know I can see that, right? It's what it is. But here's the interesting thing. People are generally our biggest problems, but people are also our biggest solution. The person who's been there before, the person who has insight and has been somewhere or seen something, has another perspective that can enlighten me as to how I can make progress. So the people, the good people help me, overcome the bad people, which gets me through the problems, that carries me through the process to fulfill my purpose. So it's purpose, process, problems, people, problems, process, fulfill my purpose. So that's that idea. Okay?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just, and that's pretty much what I do. The thing about, people think I'm that smart. I'm not that smart. I only got a half a dozen things. I don't. I'm setting up an online training program, and I'm thinking, I see all these, and we compare ourselves. I think, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, and Jim Rohn, and all these people. Oh my God, I can never be like. And then wait a second, I don't want to be like that. I just got to be me.
Yeah.
And I learned a long time ago, don't compare. When you compare, it leads to despair.
Yes.
And so, you can only compare equals, right? So anytime you compare, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to be less than or more than. More than leads to arrogance. Less than leads to depression. So don't compare.
Yes.
Just compare with the guy in the mirror.
Yeah.
That's it. And so, so that kind of thing is just, been real valuable for me.
Yes, thank you. That's awesome. So the best, and I know you've just touched on your online course. At the moment, we've got your website going across the bottom of the ticker, which is maximiseyou.com. And that's the best place for them to find and grab the copy of the book. The next best place to find you is on LinkedIn, because that's where we've connected and come through from there as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about the upcoming online course in the last minute or so that we've got? Or if there's another best place people can connect with you, I'll let you provide the invitation to them.
Oh, no, great. Actually, the website's the best. They can get all my information's there. They can get a free ebook on how to change. A lot of people want to change, they just don't know how to. So they can get a free ebook on how to change, and all. They can book. I'm able to get booked for speaking or trainings or whatever is necessary. You can find all that there. But my online training program, and we're just in the process of getting it, put together. But it's going to be an interactive training online where they'll be able to listen, and then they'll stop. I'll have assignments for them. I'll give them tools that they can implement in the process. See? So that when they finish a section, they're going to be changed before they get to the next section. They're going to learn simple little things and tools to utilize. So by the time they walk out, because a lot of people say, I just don't know enough. I'm just not good enough. And they're going to discover that they do know enough, and they're more than good enough. I mean, it's just so, that's why I love talking to people about their potential, and that'll be kind of the course, maximizing your potential. That'll be the name of the course, because your plan is what you want to do, but your potential is what you could do.
Yes.
And people can do so much more than they think they can. And I've seen it. I've seen it for the last 4 decades. I've seen people who never in their wildest imaginations, could believe that they're where they are today. And you know who that began with? Me. I mean, driving a school bus, all of a sudden traveling the world, doing all these things. I mean, unbelievable. But it's so practical. And the thing with my course is when you finish my course, I'm not going to sell another course and then another course and then another course. All these, they get a course and a course and a course. Success isn't that difficult. Listen, they'll get it all. I mean, by the time they finish a half a dozen things, they don't need another course. They just need to apply what's in that course. And
well said.
Do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That thank you for saying that, because I think that's one of my biggest bugbears is the next course and the next course and the next course, which is then not about them. It's about the individual that's selling those courses. So thank you for expressing that. That was absolute gold. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, and I can only encourage everybody to connect with you and reach out to you, because my experience of today has been transformational for me. I've got lots of little notes. You've seen me squiggling, and when I've got circles around things, that means it's something that I'm wanting to do or wanting to implement. And I've got 6 circles on my sheet of paper that I've got lots of notes all over the top. So there we go. Transformation and increasing potential in action there. So Dennis, thank you so much for sharing so much with us today. I absolutely encourage everyone to grab a copy of that book and do connect with Dennis. You are in safe, capable hands to reach your maximum potential. Thank you very, very much.
Remember, if you want to be sought after and sold out, as well as being known as the obvious expert in your industry, you need to speak with Sally, our host of Success Secrets Exposed. Sally is the founder of Monetize Your Content, a done-for-you content marketing agency that helps you be easy to buy. See you next week on another episode of Success Secrets Exposed. Tune in live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time or Wednesday mornings in Australia on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV.